How's your bottle? Oh, he smashed it in! Berbatov! It's brilliant! United lead with 4 minutes to go. What a ball to pick him out, and what a finish! It's Smalling! What a turnaround by Manchester United! Ronaldo! It's 3-2! Nobody does it better than Manchester United! Welcome to Manchester United! Anthony Martial! What a save! That is brilliant! How has he reached that?
Hello and welcome to the United Devils podcast. My name is Arjun, and over the series of podcasts we will be discussing everything Manchester United and the Premier League in general. In this podcast we will be discussing Manchester United's first International Champions Cup game against Inter Milan and our predictions for the top 6 and relegation places for the upcoming season. Today we welcome back Joe, and we have 2 new panellists today, Victor and Isaiah. Welcome guys, why don't you say a little bit about yourselves?
Hi guys, I'm Victor Emmanuel. I'm a writer from Uganda, and I love United, I love football. Yeah, that's it.
Alright, what's up guys? I'm Isaiah Magical, aka the real s.1, all the way from Texas, and I'm super excited about the show. Let's get it going.
Thanks. So we'll begin with Manchester United's first ICC game against Inter Milan. It was a 1-0 win for Manchester United, and it was not from lack of trying. United had many chances to make the scoreline greater, but finally opened the scoring from a 1 strike from Mason Greenwood. Joe, how do you feel the game went for you?
I'm quite impressed with what I saw actually. I think obviously Inter Milan are, they're a top team. I mean, granted, they had some big players missing because they've got issues within the squad with players who are maybe going or not quite fit. But I thought United just sort of carried on their really good form that they've shown in pre-season. They pressed the ball really well, especially in the second half. You expect them to maybe drop off a little bit with the heat, but they showed a good attitude to keep pressing. The substitutes, obviously, that they made after the hour mark made it a lot easier to press. And like you say, I think the only worrying thing is that we weren't able to score more goals, and obviously that's something we'll have to address at some point, but I always think as long as you're creating chances, sooner or later the goals will come. So I've actually been, quite happy with what I've seen so far.
Thank you. Victor, what do you think Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can take away from this match?
Inter Milan is a great team, and I was looking at it as our first big test. I was impressed with the outcome. We won, although we missed a lot of chances, and that should be a concern for Manchester United. Last season, we performed very poorly when it came to taking our chances, and also when it came to defending. And this season, we have brought in Wan-Bissaka. That's a massive improvement in that position. And sadly, I think the problems of the finishing still linger, because right now I'm looking at a situation where we are going to be relying on Greenwood to score the goal, because Rashford, this is coming to his 4th season, I think, and we are still giving him time. Same thing happens to Anthony Martial. Lukaku looks to be leaving, so I think our finishing needs to be worked on seriously.
Thank you. So we'll begin with the main topic, our top 6 and relegation predictions. So we might as well begin with the relegation candidates, with currently Sheffield United, Norwich and Brighton being the favourites to drop back into the Championship. Aston Villa, Burnley and Newcastle are the other 3 that make the top 6 relegation candidates this coming season. Isaiah, Newcastle are going through some problems at the moment after Benitez left the club and Mike Ashley constantly refusing to sell. and big goal-scoring players such as Jose Perez and Salomon Rondon leaving the club, are they likely to go back to the Championship?
I think so, yes, for me, because losing Benitez, Rondon, and Perez and especially losing Benitez, that's probably the biggest loss for him, for a manager like him. But yeah, I think they're one of the favorites to go down. I have them as one of my predictions to go down. And honestly, I think them going down would be in some way good for Newcastle fans because it puts more pressure on Mike Ashley into selling the club.
Yeah, one thing I'll ask you as well as a follow-up, do you think that maybe United should wait to purchase Sean Longstaff till maybe January or maybe even next summer, and we'll get him for a cheaper price if they do drop?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But if they don't drop and if they do wait another summer, then his price could probably go up as well. That's also a risk.
All right, thank you. Victor, Brighton also lost their manager, Chris Hughton, at the end of the season and did not end the league campaign in the best way, only escaping relegation in the penultimate match. They're not in a good position going into the first game of the season, so are they another team that's likely to go down to the Championship?
I think they'll be on the top 4 contenders to go down in the relegation battle. I think they still have it compared to Sheffield and Norwich. I think Brighton still have Premier League experience and they have problems, yes, but I don't think Sheffield, Norwich and Newcastle will perform better than them.
Thank you. Isaiah, Burnley are a very resilient team, and of course certainly United a lot of problems since they've been promoted in the 16-17 season. Most clubs, in fact, struggle to break them down. Chelsea and Man City getting notable draws with them over the last few seasons. And Sean Dyche is an excellent manager who knows every inch of the club and all their players very, very well. Can they really be called true candidates for relegation?
For me, no. I think Burnley has pretty much confirmed their spot in the Premier League. In my opinion, I think the clubs more like other than Newcastle, Brighton, like you said, and for me, Bournemouth. I don't think they're in a very good position going into the Premier League as well. So I think Bournemouth for me have a better chance of being relegated, or maybe even Watford than Burnley. So I trust Burnley enough to not get relegated. So I don't have them in my contentions for relegation this season.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the 3 promoted sides and start with the champions Norwich City. In their first 5 games of the season, they have Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City. And it seems like they're not going to get too many points from those few games. But, Joe, do you think they have what it takes to stay up?
I'm not sure about Norwich. I think, like a lot of the teams that have obviously just got promoted and the teams that you've mentioned there, relegation candidates, it's all about investment and for them. And obviously, you know, if you don't spend big in the Premier League, unfortunately, I don't think, you know, you've got much chance of surviving. And I look at Norwich at the moment. They've made 1 or 2 additions, but I'm not sure that they've invested heavily enough in that squad in order to stay up next season. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't read too much into. I mean, obviously, like you say, they have got a difficult start, but I don't read too much into that because, you know, you have to play everybody twice, and sometimes it can be a benefit to you to get these games early on, and sometimes these bigger teams, you know, it's probably better to play them early because they're probably not at their fluent best. So I wouldn't be surprised if out of those 3 games against one of those teams they do pick up 1 or 2 points, but I think for Norwich, looking at them from afar, because that's what I am doing, I haven't really looked at them in any great detail, I don't think that they've invested enough in their squad to compete with, you know, 17 other good Premier League sides next season.
Thank you. As for Sheffield United, They had the joint best defensive record in the Championship, joint with Middlesbrough, and only conceded 41 goals. Put that in perspective, only the top four of the Premier League conceded fewer goals than Sheffield United did last season. Isaiah, if Dean Henderson chooses to rejoin Sheffield on loan, can the Blades stay up with their good defensive record, or do you think they need to have a better attacking force?
I think it's definitely a plus for Sheffield United if they get Dean Henderson back. And with the players they've invested in, I think they will stay up. I think they can stay up. And I think it's Dean Henderson going back to Sheffield United is good for both himself, Sheffield, and United himself. It'll be good, some good experience for Henderson himself to get to know what it's like to play in the Premier League, and it'll test them to see if whether he should be De Gea's backup or we should wait on him.
Great. So we'll go on to the last club, Aston Villa. Villa had a pretty tough time of it in the Championship since they were relegated in 2016 after that dreadful season in the Premier League. They finally returned to the Premier League, but without their main striker, Tammy Abraham, who's returned to Chelsea and will be an important player for Frank Lampard this season. Abraham scored 25 goals for Villa in their promotion campaign and contributed to 30% of their total goal tally for the season. And even at the back, they had Axel Tuanzebe, who, as we've talked about in the last few episodes, was a stalwart in the Villa defence. Those two youngsters are going to be serious losses for the team. And, Victor, that's surely going to hamper their season, right?
Yeah, I believe Aston Villa is going to struggle very much without the likes of Abraham and Tuanzebe. As Joe spoke about it, the recruitment isn't that serious, so I expect them to struggle a lot in the Premier League this season.
Thank you. So we'll go on to our predictions. For me, I'm going for 18th place being Aston Villa, 19th place being Brighton Hove Albion, and last place going to be Norwich City. Isaiah, what are your three choices?
18th place, I'm going with Newcastle. 19th, I'm going with Bournemouth, and then 20th, I'm going with Brighton.
Thank you. Joe, who are you going for?
I think I'm going to go in 18th place. I think Newcastle will just about be relegated. The investment of Joe Linton is an interesting one, but I don't think it's going to get them the goals that they need. I think in the last 3 seasons he hasn't scored more than 8 goals a season, so I don't know where the goals are coming from. I don't think the manager's good enough, so I think Newcastle are going down. I think in 19th place it will be Brighton. Again, they've got a manager with no Premier League experience. They seem to have sold a couple of their best players. A couple of deals don't make any sense to me. And again, they're probably not investing enough in that squad to kick on from this season, because they could have gone down quite easily last season. And then bottom, I think it will be Norwich. Yeah, I think they're going to really struggle. I mean, they won the league last year in the Championship, but actually when you look at it, they won a lot of games late on with late goals. And obviously that takes an element of luck. And I just think that this season, yeah, they won't have enough to stay up. So I'm going for Newcastle, Brighton, and Norwich in that order.
Thank you. Victor, who are your three choices?
In the 18th place, I'll go with Aston Villa. I expect them to put some fight, most especially when it comes to those small teams. So their fight might be good enough for the 18th place. Then the 19th place, I'll go with Newcastle. Newcastle is in a very bad place right now, and I don't think they're coming back from it. Then the last place, it will be either Norwich or Sheffield United. I don't see any of those two teams doing very well in the Premier League.
Thank you. We'll move on to our top 6 predictions now. And this is going to be a difficult one, as the race for the title was so close and the race for top 4 was almost equally so. There is one question that remains, is that whether Arsenal, Chelsea, United and Spurs can make ground on Man City and Liverpool and close the 25-point gap between second and third. So, to start this off, we'll begin with the Europa League spots. And who do you think will end up missing out on the conventional route to the Champions League places?
For me, I think Arsenal. I just can't see them getting anywhere near the top four. To be fair, I think they've shown some. They've had some decent results in pre-season, but I think looking at their squad as it is right now, and with the budget that they have. I mean, apparently they only have 40 million to spend this summer. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. But if it is, that's not going to get you the players that you need to obviously push for those Champions League places and beyond. So I think Arsenal in sixth for me. They've obviously got some uncertainty as well over Koscielny, who is maybe not a world-class defender, but he's their club captain, and he's been a good servant for the club. So I think in sixth place will be Arsenal. And they may even have a challenge on from that. I mean, if someone like Leicester City or Everton plays to their potential and they overperform this season, you could quite easily see that top six being sort of broken up a little bit. Fifth, I think that'll be Chelsea this season. I've just got a funny feeling. I mean, to be fair to Chelsea, considering they've had a transfer ban, they've not had a bad summer. They've managed to bring in the likes of Pulisic and Kovacic and people like that, and so far they've been they are going to retain Hudson-Odoi obviously because he's just signed a new contract. But I just think there were so many games last season and over the past few seasons where Hazard has obviously been the game winner for them, scoring winning goals, scoring late goals, creating goals and winning matches on his own basically. So although, like I say, they've not had a bad summer, I just think they're not able to replace a player like Hazard. So I think that might just catch up with them later on in the season. Those games that he would win for them, obviously he won't do that this season. And obviously you've got Frank Lampard in charge, who, he did pretty well with Derby last season, but obviously this is a different level, and he's going to be under a lot more pressure, and there's going to be a lot more people watching him this season. And I think, although I'm not confident he will get them in the Champions League, I am sort of interested to see how he develops some of those Chelsea youth players, because I think they've obviously got some really good young players there. Well, they have for a number of years. They've never had the opportunity to have their chance in the first team. So I think you're going to see more of them playing this year, the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount. But I don't think those players on their own are going to be able to get Chelsea into those top four positions this season.
Thank you. Isaiah, would you agree with those two selections?
Yeah, but I don't even think, for me, I agree with him on Chelsea, but Arsenal, I don't even think they'll make it in the top six for me.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think Everton make it into that top six. I mean, they kind of have to with the money they spend, and I know a lot of their fans and even the neutrals say that every year. And then they got Silva second year running. I think he's really got them going at their feet, especially towards the end of last season when they beat United, Chelsea. They tied with Liverpool, and I don't remember the result against Arsenal. They really hit the ground running, and I think that's going to continue going into next season.
Yeah, thank you. Victor, who are your two choices for fifth and sixth?
I'll start with sixth. Sixth, I'll choose Chelsea. I think the ban is going to affect them very much. Then also, they have a new coach, and the process to settle in, adapt the tactics might affect them greatly. So the sixth place will be Chelsea. Then fifth will be Arsenal. Their recruitment isn't that good, and also the quality of their players is not that good. So,
thank you. For me, I'm going to be going for, in sixth place, being Leicester City. I think if they can, I think Maguire's going. I think that's going to happen. for however much it's going. I don't know, but I believe the reports are that the replacements for him are going to be Lewis Dunk from Brighton, which I think overlaps with the fact that I think Brighton are going to get relegated because they're going to be without Lewis Dunk, one of their leaders at the back. I think Leicester are going to overtake Arsenal in 6th place if they keep Tielemans, if they keep Maddison, Harvey Barnes coming in, Damari Gray, and even Ndidi as an anchor. And then 5th, I'm going to also go for Chelsea. I'm excited to see Mason Mount play, even though it's for Chelsea. I'm excited to see Mason Mount and Hudson-Odoi. But I think, again, as Joe said, they're going to miss Hazard really badly. And I don't know whether Abraham has the ability to score 10, 20 plus goals in the Premier League in his first full season, first proper season at Chelsea. We'll move on to 4th place now. Who do you think will make it into the last Champions League spot?
I think it will be Tottenham. I would have given them a higher place, but they are masters in bottling things, so I think their best finish will be the 4th place.
Yeah, I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but I actually think this might be our place this season. I think, but I do feel like looking at it now, I don't know, after waiting until the season pans out, but looking at it now, I think we could be 4th, like, by a nice cushion. The way I see the table, it might not be as close as last season, and if we're going to finish 4th, I would like to finish 4th, 6 or 7 points clear of 5th. I just feel like Tottenham obviously finished above us last season, and all the signs this season that they can kick on from that. I think they've made a great signing in midfield with Ndombele, and obviously they've managed to ship out a few players that they didn't want, and I wouldn't rule out them making some more signings, and if they can keep Eriksen as well, a little bit like us keeping De Gea, that will be almost like a new signing for them. So I think it might be our place, and hopefully not too far behind Tottenham, but keeping Pochettino and the additions that they've added this summer and what they look set to keep, I think it'll be difficult for us to overhaul them, so I'm going for us in 4th. Man United.
Honestly, I feel Man United will get 3rd and 4th. My brain says Spurs will get it, but I want to take a wild one, I guess, here, and I want to say Leicester City finish in the top 4. And Brendan Rodgers. And for me, you're looking at a lot of these teams, they have one of the most balanced teams in the Premier League right now.
So where would you see Tottenham and Arsenal then?
Arsenal and Tottenham?
Yeah.
I said Chelsea. Well, let me take this back. I can see Spurs finishing in the 5th, Chelsea in the 6th, and then Arsenal between Everton and Wolverhampton. Because I say Chelsea in 6th, because like Joe said, they have a lot of these young players, but I don't think they're good enough to carry Chelsea even to the top 5. Especially with a new a manager in Frank Lampard. I know he's a legend there and whatnot, but we don't know what he can do in the Premier League yet as a manager.
All right, thank you.
Can I just say, Arjun, just to back Isaiah up there, I mean, I do think if there was to be a surprise, I think you'd find it like to the top 6 or the top 4. You're hard pushed to find a better team than maybe Leicester, because I think they could surprise a few people this year. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, I think, is a very underrated coach. And like Isaiah said, they've got a nice balanced team. And I know, like you say, that Maguire may leave. I'm actually with you. I think that will happen. Where he'll go, how much he'll go for, I don't know. But just say, for example, they could keep Maguire as well, then I think it's not the worst call in the world to say that they could break that monopoly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they could have one of those seasons again that no one expects coming. I mean, I doubt they'll break through Man City or Liverpool, but they could have one of those surprise seasons where they get into the top, maybe the top 5. Right, for me personally, 4th spot is probably going to be occupied by Tottenham. I think Eriksen, even if he leaves, he has his off days, and their defence, while they've got Alderweireld and they've got Vertonghen, I don't think their fullbacks are strong enough to stay in third place, and they just about made it because it seemed at the end of the season nobody wanted to finish third or fourth, and everyone was just losing games and drawing. But I don't think the midfield signing was very shrewd. But I think unless they sign fullbacks and maybe another centre back and another striker if Llorente leaves, I think Spurs are going to finish fourth spot.
Yeah,
So,
I think you make a good point there about the fullbacks, especially. I mean, I know Kieran Trippier didn't have his best season last year, but you're looking at numbers. I mean, there's a lot of talk as well that Danny Rose is leaving, isn't he, this summer? So
PSG, isn't he?
yeah, something like that. But he's definitely been linked with the move. So I'm starting to think and looking at the squad, and people like Kyle Walker-Peters, who was obviously very much on the fringes last season, one of their young academy players. He may have to play a lot of games this season because if they're going into the season with fullbacks like Davies and Aurier,
One Foyth.
Yeah, Van Foyth, who's, let's be honest, not a natural fullback himself anyway. I think they're going to rely heavily on that, and they don't seem to be linked with any fullbacks, but it seems very strange that they're about to go into this season just with such a limited number of fullbacks like that. So, yeah, I think you make a good point there.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the third place contenders. When you look at that, you think whether they're going to be closer to fourth or whether they might actually challenge the likes of Liverpool and Man City and be the title contenders. So I know, Isaiah, you've said that Man United will be your third spot, and from what it looks like, Joe, yours is going to be Tottenham, and Victor, mine and yours are both going to be United, it would seem. Do you think United are more likely to be closer to fourth or second place?
I think United will be closer to second place. Actually, my prediction is that the title challenge is going to revolve around 4 teams because I'm anticipating VAR is coming to the Premier League, so there's some ups and downs it brings into the Premier League. Then also teams are improving on their squad depth, so I think we shall be closer to second than to fourth place.
Yeah, I think there's two elements to this, and I think it's hard to believe that maybe Liverpool and City can be so dominant again next season. What was it? Something like 95 points and 97 points, or something that, it's very hard to imagine that they could maintain that again next season. And but then also it's hard to imagine that the rest could be so far behind and so forth. I mean, we finished 31 points, I think, behind the champions last year, or whoever was third finished 31 points, I'm not quite sure, but so you'd hope that the chasing pack can get better this summer, and you'd imagine that it's not humanly possible for the top two to be as dominant. So by that process, then I would expect United to get closer to the two teams, the winner and the runner-up. But obviously, I think it's going to be Tottenham in third. So you would hope so, but saying they'll be closer doesn't mean to say that they'll get near to winning it. I don't think Tottenham are still ready yet to go and challenge for a title, but I'm hoping that the gap's not as big, because that doesn't do anyone any favours. In the long term, it won't help the league either. People will start to see the league as being less competitive if we constantly have two teams who are 30-odd points clear come the end of the season. So I think it'll be closer, and obviously I think it needs to be closer as well.
Isaiah, do you have a different view of that, or do you think it's going to be, closer this season?
I think with this current squad, let's say we don't make any more signings, it's going to be a real tough one. It's going to be hard. We're going to see a lot of what we saw last season if we don't add new additions to the squad, especially at center back. We're going to keep seeing Jones, Smalling, and if we keep seeing that, we're not going to get anywhere near the title. So that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Right, thank you. For me, I think United are going to be closer to fourth and fifth than they are second and first. I reckon it won't be as bad as the 25-point gap, not even as bad as the 19-point gap that United had to City 2 seasons ago. But I think it's going to be about maybe 8-9 points difference from third to first, maybe even third to second. I just think that the other teams need to invest another season more, and then it will start to narrow the gap even further. Maybe even make it a 5 or 6 horse race for the title. But as it stands, I'm thinking United will finish third, but will be closer to fourth than second. So speaking of second, we'll go on to who is going to finish the runner-up. Joe, do you think it's going to be close like last season, left to the very final day, or do you think it will end up in a big gap like it was the season before?
No, I think it'll be close, but I don't think it'll be as close as it was last season. I think Liverpool are going to. I just feel with Man City last season, they were fantastic, but that's what Man City do. I still have this feeling inside me that even though Liverpool were good, and they've been good now, they've been building steadily under Klopp, I still think that was a bit of a freak season for them in a way. And I'm still waiting for players like, Salah and Mane and even Firmino to just sort of, drop off a level or two, because I do feel that they're playing well above, what I expect of them when Liverpool first signed them, and also than what obviously I feel they're capable of. So I just feel like the City players, the quality that they've got, it's sort of real, if you know what I mean. Whereas the Liverpool players, I think from a good 2 or 3 seasons now, there's 3 or 4 of them in that squad that are overachieving. Even players who are like squad players like Milner and Henderson, I think are playing way above their level, and I just feel that sooner or later that's going to catch up on them. But we'll see. I still think they'll be a comfortable second, but I think, unfortunately, Man City will, both unfortunately and fortunately, because I don't want Liverpool to win the league. I think, City will be probably win it by about 5 or 6 points this season.
Thank you. Victor, do you see that happening as well, or do you think Liverpool could win their first Premier League title?
No, I don't see Liverpool beating Man City to that title. Liverpool, when you compare the squad depth, they just have a good first team, but once the first team is out, then in case of injuries, suspensions, then they are going to struggle a lot. Now, when you compare it to Man City, apart from maybe their defense, of which they just need to replace Company, they have a very strong team, and they keep improving it. Like now they've added on Rodrigo into that midfield, so I don't think Liverpool will do it like it did last season, that close.
Thank you. Isaiah, do you have a different approach, or do you think Man City are going to win a treble of Premier League trophies in a row?
I agree with a lot. They both of them, Joe and Victor said, but I just can't. I wouldn't be able to stand Man City winning a third Premier League title in a row, and I don't want to see it. If I'm being honest with you, I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't live with it. It's jealousy talking, but. That's just something I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think either way, I don't want to be in this position next season, but we're going to be in the there's going to be how do I put it because we're going to be put Man United and the fans are going to be put up in an effed up situation, but between Liverpool and City.
It's a choice of 2 evils, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I can't bear with myself thinking Man City winning a third league title in a row.
Can I just say, I think Victor made a good point as well earlier when he mentioned that. I think it's fair to say that you look at Liverpool's squad below what they've got, and I think they've been fortunate over the last 2 seasons that a lot of those top performing players haven't really sustained any major injuries, and I don't want to wish injuries on players for 1 minute, but obviously the good form that Salah's shown, he's had a good run in the team. I don't think he's ever had any major injuries that's kept him out more than a couple of weeks. That whole front line, Manny and Firmino, two have done pretty well, keeping themselves fit, and then obviously across the back last season, I know Trent Alexander-Arnold had a spell out the team, but you had Robertson, who was fantastic, and again, no coincidence, he kept himself fit, and obviously Van Dijk was fantastic for them last season, but again, he had a good bill of health, so it would be interesting to see what happened if a couple of those players got injuries that kept them out for 2 or 3 months, but that's all matter of fact. But I think Victor obviously made a good point there.
Yeah, that's true.
And I will say this: if United do sign Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes, I really do think we can challenge for the title.
Yeah, I mean, it is that thing, but then when you think about it, if Liverpool signed Coutinho and they missed him last season, especially when they had all those draws where they couldn't break down a team, do you think if they signed Coutinho and maybe another winger, they could win the title?
Liverpool?
Yeah.
Or, I guess depending on who the winger is.
So, I mean, I've just seen a report.
It's not Nicolas Pepe, is it?
No, I've just seen a report which saying that Jurgen Klopp says that Liverpool will not move for Gareth Bale, but obviously they'll be linked with other players. But I've seen reports about David Neres from Ajax.
Okay.
Do you think that might be something that they could consider?
Yeah, I think it'll be a plus for them, but I don't know if it's enough to get them to the title. And honestly, I don't know if I see David Neres going to Liverpool. I know he's been linked with Everton, but I don't know how true or not that is.
Mm-hmm.
Coutinho's in it. I think you look at it last season. If they'd have had Coutinho, you'd have to say it'd be hard to argue that they would have won that league, because at least one of those draws, Coutinho would have been able to unlock the defence, like you say. So, they say never go back, do they? And I don't know whether he'd be as successful as he went back, but it'd be hard to see a player like him not being welcome back at Liverpool, not fitting straight back into that team. Obviously, I think it'd be a great addition, but the winger situation, I think there's a lot of clubs going for a top-class winger. Reports say even we're in for one as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they get, but Jurgen Klopp's very good, I think. I think that's the other good thing about Liverpool over the last couple of seasons. You have to say the recruitment's been very good. The way they go about their business, they've not only identified top players, they're really efficient about it as well. So, I didn't think that the likes of Firmino would work at Liverpool. I never understood Salah coming back, because he's already Premier League and never did it. So, there's a few players that you've sort of made you raise your eyebrows, but
even Shaqiri.
Yeah, even Shaqiri. I mean, Shaqiri scored some important goal. I mean, I remember Shaqiri coming on against us last season, I think.
Yeah, that was horrible.
It's typical United. I always feel like we concede a lot of goals to players that sort of seem to be on the fringes. Well, they never score against anybody else, but they seem to score against us. But yeah, Shaqiri was, especially when the games started, when he got congested last season, around the Christmas period, and obviously when the Champions League came back in February, Shaqiri was a real big asset to them. And again, a lot of people would have looked at that signing and thought, we're not sure, but I think they've got a good eye for a player, so I think you always have to take note whenever Liverpool sign a player, because I think their recruitment team is serious at the moment and real quality, so we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, thank you. I'll go for my section. I think I'm going to take it from a different angle. I think it's going to be Man City in second. And I do understand the depth that Man City have, but at this current period, I think that they need another left back, because they've just sold Fabian Delph, who was their shoe-in. Mendy's never fit. Danilo is terrible.
And he wants to leave.
Sorry?
And Otamendi wants to leave as well.
Does he?
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing reports.
Oh, okay. Well, even then, that makes it even worse. Kyle Walker has his good days, but has his bad days. And then, yeah, as Victor said, they haven't replaced Company. They've got Laporte, who I think is great, but we saw John Stones in the the Nations League, where he made 2 high-profile errors against the Netherlands. And Otamendi, I've never thought Otamendi was very good. He was a bit like Mangala for me, but more likely to get a red card than an own goal.
Yeah.
I just think Liverpool will kick on. They'll get someone. They'll get Coutinho, or they'll get some big player, and then that will just unlock their season. And I reckon they're going to do it next year.
I'm literally crying right now at the thought of this again. So I've been watching Man City and Liverpool go at it. Like you say, it's worst 2 evils. I got to the end of last season and I just breathed a massive sigh of relief, so glad it was over. I wasn't even bothered that we lost 2-0 at Cardiff. It was just like, I'm just glad this season's over, because the fact that we weren't great, it was more the fact that just seeing Liverpool and City playing so well and being so dominant, it's just like, I'm not used to seeing this. I was a kid who was born in 1986. I've seen nothing but United dominance, so no, not good.
No. Yeah, so we've gone through, and through process of elimination, we know who we've chosen as the winners. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Joe and Victor, you've both gone for Manchester City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Isaiah, you and I have both gone for Liverpool. That's correct.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Before we finish, I'll with United's position. So it's sort of flipped around 3rd or 4th. Is that if we get Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, and maybe Nicolas Pepe, or is that with the current squad at the moment?
According to me, that's with Maguire. Then about Bruno Fernandes and Nicolas Pepe, I think they'll add very much to our team. If we get another midfielder and another attacker who can score goals, I think they'll add much to our team. And if the team also feels like us, they could surrender the other tournaments and just concentrate on the Premier League and win it for us. That's it.
All right, thank you. Isaiah, for your prediction for United to be 3rd, would that be with including Maguire, or would that be with Lindelof, Tuanzebe, Bailly at the back, and the midfield?
Yeah, that would be without Maguire. If we have Maguire, well, even if we add Maguire, I think we'll be closer to within 2nd. I don't know about 1st if we add Maguire, but if we do add Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Nicolas Pepe, or not even Nicolas Pepe, I think we could challenge the 1st, because I know we're still missing a right winger, but I don't think we have to go off and buy one as right now when if Mason Greenwood is performing the way he is.
Yeah, I think I'm hard pushed to see them 3. If we signed even if we signed all 3 of those, as even still getting close to start, I don't think that's possible. I think if we signed maybe 2 of them, say Maguire and Fernandes, then I could see us obviously being more comfortable 3rd and 4th, rather than maybe closer to 2nd. If we just sign Maguire, I'll stick with my 4th, and 4th might by maybe about 5 or 6 points. But if we don't sign anybody else, and that is quite a scary thought and is quite an unacceptable thought, then I'll probably say in 4th, more based on my heart than my head, if you know, because I'm a United fan, and I just want to stick my willingness to get into 4th. It could become quite a close run thing, because when this last season ended, somebody was saying, I think this squad needed a massive overhaul. I mean, I was thinking 6-7 players maybe, but also thinking at the same time 6 or 7 may leave, and that's obviously not materialised, so there's no chance that will happen anyway. But at the bare minimum, they have to look at Maguire and another midfielder, or another winger, or defender, midfielder and winger, if you know what I mean. And I think if they want to be comfortably in the top 4, they're going to have to make at least another 2 or 3 signings this season.
Thank you. And thank you for your predictions. Before we go, though, there's one more question. Have we got any predictions for the Golden Boot this year? Harry Kane is favourite to claim it, but with Salah and Aguero in second place, are they going to be the three candidates, or are there any other choices that you would predict?
I think if Lukaku gets the service he did it with Everton or even his first season at United, then he's easily up there. And I like to make wild predictions, so I'm gonna say Diego Jota as well.
Lukaku and Jota.
Yep.
Right.
But for me, yeah, I mean, I agree with what Asaya says. Obviously, if Lukaku had that service, but there's also another big and if he's still at the club,
Yeah.
it's looking more and more sort of unlikely. But even if he is still at the club, I don't think he's going to have enough game time next season to maybe get the goals that he's going to need to obviously push for that. So, I mean, you know, the obvious ones are Aguero and Kane, and I think you're hard pushed to argue against that. But if United do have a good season and they are going to be successful this year, I think Marcus Rashford's going to have to score a lot of goals. So, but again, he will be heavily reliant on a consistent Pogba. You know, the club signing another creative midfielder, someone like Bruno Fernandes, in order to create these chances for him to score the type of goals that Solskjaer wants him to score. I think we can tell from what Solskjaer said since he's come to the club, he wants Rashford to score more like striker goals. You know, he wants him to be, you know, the type of striker that can score from 4 or 5 yards, not always sort of scoring complicated finishes from the edge of the penalty area. So I think if he can do that and he turns into a proper number 9 for United this season, if Man United go on and have a season where they surprise a lot of people, I think Rashford will be up there with the Golden Boot, because I think he'll need to be, because it's very difficult to see where the goals will come from in sheer numbers around the rest of the team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Victor, have you got any predictions for Golden Boot?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle just like last season. I think Harry Kane, Salah, Aguero, and I'll also add there Aubameyang from Arsenal. Then I also expect one player from United. That's if I am hopeful we are going to have a bit more consistency next season. So I'm expecting one player from United to challenge, to be up there among the top scorers. Yeah.
Thank you. For me, I think Kane will have another good season. I mean, I don't see him stopping with scoring goals. I don't know if anyone saw the game against Juventus where he scored from the halfway line.
Yeah, he's got that in his locker, hasn't he? He's a great striker. The only thing that will be interesting with Kane this season is I think they had quite a lot of joy last season in games when he wasn't playing. I know the spell when he was injured just after Christmas, you know, they actually put a decent run of form together. Obviously, during the Champions League run as well, a couple of those games towards the end, was it the quarterfinals and the semi-finals he wasn't available for, and obviously they came through them games using like Lucas Moura maybe as a false 9. So it might be, you know, maybe we may see Kane a bit more rotated this season. I'm not sure. Maybe I always think Pochettino thought that Kane had to play, and I just feel like if you looked at some of the examples from last season, you know, Tottenham are capable of playing without Kane, although popular belief suggests that he has to be a shoo-in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I mean, Kane has a weird way of going deep and then moving forward. But then that seems to hamper Eriksen's play and it hampers Ali's play.
And a lot of people, including Tottenham fans, will actually tell you that the team are a lot slower with obviously Kane in it. Not that that's a major problem, because obviously he scores goals, but I think if he went on a run next season where he went 4 or 5 games without a goal, I don't think Pochettino would fear taking him out of the team as much as maybe he would have done previous seasons. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I think Kane scored sheer amount of goals because whether he scores or he hasn't in previous seasons, he's been in the team because you just feel he's going to score eventually. Whereas I think if he has a bad run, I think you could see him have a little spell out the team.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Or maybe, you know, give him a rest for a couple of games against someone like Burnley, where they're kind of built to deal with big strikers and maybe play more up front, or even Son, who can play basically anywhere.
Yeah, he was another player who obviously played that false 9 position pretty well. So, yeah.
But I'm going to go for, like I said, I'm going to go for a bit of a wild card here, and I'm going to go for Anthony Martial, who seems to be in a different mindset, who, as Solskjaer says, and I just think that maybe he can be like Hazard and just win those big games with, big goals and big assists and things like that. And I reckon if he gets firing, if he has less of a defensive obligation, then I think he could score 20 plus goals for us.
Do you think he'll start over Lukaku, Rashford, or would you start him like as that striker role, or
I'd start him on the left to terrorise some left back. But then what you'd have to do is you'd have to say that because Shaw's more of a defensive player, you keep him back, maybe only send him in to attack when we need him, and just make Martial terrify that right back. Because he can, and then he can whip it across. He can do, he can cut in, and then he can shoot from inside the box, outside the box. His first touch is exceptional. His ball control, his quick feet, his composure in front of goal. He's just he's a complete forward, I think.
Yeah, and much like Rashford, we know they can score in big games because they scored against, Rashford scores against Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. Martial scores against Chelsea, so we know they can score in big games, but can they do it consistently? They game in and game out. That's their problem.
Well, let's hope their coaching under Solskjaer has done the trick, but only time will tell. And I think tomorrow's game against Tottenham will really show where United are, as we've said previously.
True.
And Martial, actually, his best form for United was probably when he first joined the club. I mean, what a start he had to his time in that first season. He was incredible, and that was playing in a wide area. And if you remember when he first came, United very quickly picked up on his strengths and what he's good at. And they used to just give him the ball wide. And like you said, Arjun, they used to just let him terrorise fullbacks, you know what I mean? And then he sort of seemed to lose a bit of that from his game, I think he suffered a bit of crisis of confidence and form, and he got moved to being, playing more as a central striker, and then he got switched over onto the other wing, and he had a period out of the team. But I think I don't understand sometimes, especially when we're at home and we have to break teams down, why we don't just get the ball out to Martial and just let him try and create things from the wide area, because he's so dangerous coming in from that left.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think maybe I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho, but I think he hampered Martial by making him track back and defend, because I don't think he fully trusted the left back, whether it was Blint, whether it was Shaw, Darmian, Young, whoever it was. And I think he made Martial compensate for that on the left.
And that's not Martial's game.
No, and I think when Mourinho had Hazard in that 14-15 season, just let him go for it. I think that's what Martial can do, and when he can do that, he's practically unstoppable.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or anything else we want to discuss before we?
I have one question, just out of the blue. Let's say we do sign Maguire, and let's say Bailly stays fit, and those two are a pair. Would you guys consider putting Victor Lindelof as defensive mid? I know I put that on Twitter before, but I just have this fantasy in my mind where I see Victor Lindelof playing as a defensive mid.
Well, this way, I'd have Victor Lindelof at defensive mid before I'd have Nemanja Matic at the defensive mid. So, I think it's an interesting one, actually. I mean, the first time I've thought about that is just right now, actually, as when you say, I've never thought about it, but actually, you look at a couple of occasions on this pre-season tour, he's made a couple of dangerous runs, hasn't he, out from the back, and I always feel that the strongest part of his game, which is probably not great for a centre-back, is actually his distribution. He's very comfortable on the ball. Short passes, long passes. And he's very comfortable running with the ball. It's definitely an option for United if they needed it, you know what I mean? But again, I'm hoping that we make some additions to the midfield that would mean that it wouldn't come to that. But if it's a choice between Lindelof and Matic, I think it's a close run thing for me because I still baffled still gets in this team. Well, he wasn't bad against Inter Milan, but I feel he's only there because we have no other options at the moment. And actually thinking about it, I don't think that's the worst suggestion I've ever heard. To be fair, it's quite interesting.
It would be quite versatile as well, because then you can slip into a back three, have wing backs, because Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, if they are going to be the starting fullbacks, they can bomb up and down, and then you could have Pogba and probably McTominay if Fernandes doesn't get signed. You have McTominay playing that deeper role and Pogba still allowed to go up. It would be an option, but I think it would seem, I reckon you would see a lot of complaints about it, and that's just showing United's failure to get maybe Savic or Longstaff in before the end of the season. So I think that might be one negative, is that fans would probably dislike that idea.
Yeah, and for me, the other thing that it's got against it slightly is reading between the lines. If United do sign Maguire, I think Solskjaer will have his heart set on a defensive partnership of maybe Maguire and Lindelof. I think that's probably what it would see is so they're obviously, like you say, Bailly, if he's fit, would play there. But I think Solskjaer would ideally like to see those two playing together at the back. So, but I'm hoping actually, especially what I've seen so far in pre-season, we look like we're playing a 4-2-3-1 sort of system. So there's sort of two that would, if you want to call them DMs or whether you want to call them just centre mids, depending on where they are on the pitch. I think I would like to see those two be Pogba and McTominay. And then if they are, then I don't see then where there will be a place for Matic. And that's all good for me because I just don't think it seems.
Okay. That's all we have time for this week. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Joe, Isaiah, and Victor for all joining me. Tune in next week as we discuss Man United versus Chelsea's combined 11. If you have any questions or any topics you would like for us to cover, then please comment below on the video or on the Twitter or Facebook posts. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter for all our content.